Right, let's get into this. Let's get these folks, give them some really good stuff so they can start working on their plans for their business. So, guys, look, we want to make sure you get a ton of really good value today. So, a few things for you to just take note of before we kind of dive into this. First of all, we've been pushing a ton of really useful, or we think it's useful anyway, I hope you do too, a ton of content out onto our Facebook group. So if you go and have a look at if you go into Facebook and look for Action Coach Growth Hub, you will find our Facebook group there. It's an open group now. You can also search for the group Action Coach Milton Keynes, Bedford and Northampton, and it will take you to the same place. So there's a ton of content there. There'll also be a link to this recording afterwards. And I know a whole bunch of you were on the recording that we did last week. That's also up on our YouTube channel, and a link for that is also on the Facebook group as well. So go and have a look there. Something else we're doing is offering to you 15 to 30-minute coaching one-to-ones. So inevitably, as we're going through this period of change right now, there'll be some stuff that's on your mind that you may just want to get a second opinion from somebody on. So what you can do is follow that URL there, calendly.com/Action Coach Milton Keynes, and you can book a one-to-one session with myself or with Mark, and we're here, we're ready to support you for any questions that you've got. It's completely pro bono. We just want to reach out and do as much as we can to support the local community during this difficult time. Okay, so that's something else that's there. We will also send to you after this session a workbook. So today's going to be a very practical session. Okay, last week we went through 20 steps of things that you can work on. Today we're going to give you some very practical things to go away and look at, and we'll follow that up with a workbook that we'll send to you by email. And there'll be some other additional resources there that we'll send as well. So look out for that email, and you'll get a bunch of resources there afterwards. Okay, all right. So look, let's just dive into this and see where we go. So in simple terms, guys, look, we've kind of mapped out a sort of a 5-phase process for how we think this is going to be working. Where we are right now, and that process kind of impacts two aspects. It impacts us on a personal level, and it impacts us on a business level as well. So the 3 phases that we're kind of looking at right now, phase 1 is all around kind of the lockdown. Okay, I just want to say, by the way, look, we have no inside track to what the government is saying. We're not experts on the virus itself. We're just kind of reading the same information that you're looking at and providing our best help and support around that. So look, we are kind of estimating that this lockdown phase is probably going to be running. Initially, it was 3 weeks. It's probably going to run as we start to hit the peak in a couple of weeks' time, probably till at least the end of April. So we're saying this kind of phase 1, this lockdown phase, is probably for the first sort of 30 days. Okay. After that 30 days, and we start to kind of get over that peak, then there's going to be a period of adaptation as we start to kind of flex ourselves, and we start to kind of think about what a new normal is going to look like for us, and as we start to ready our business for whatever that new normal is going to look like as well. So that's probably another 30-day phase, which is probably going to take us, give or take, probably through May. Roughly.
Mark, can I say something there? What has surprised me, and Mark and I had this chat this morning, and several of you, do feel free, by the way, to throw your comments on the chat as we're going through. Any thoughts or any observations be really useful, so we can keep it as interactive as we can on the way through. It's a bit tough listening to us two for more than 20 minutes, so do give your thoughts. But one of the thoughts that I've observed, Mark, is that there's been a change in attitude in a matter of days. So I was talking to several corporate clients from the other business that I'm involved with, and they were in real freeze mode last week. This week it's changed to, okay, we've accepted it, now we're going to get on with stuff. So there's an attitude shift. So that adaptation phase, I think, is pretty well almost on us now, that we're now thinking, right, what have we got to do to adapt? So
Absolutely, Mark. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for pointing that out. I think you're right. I'm also picking that up with all the people that I'm talking to for as well. You know, last week people were clearly just in blind panic, and I think people were frozen and they didn't know what to do and where to go. Now, whether you think the government's action was good or not, it was decisive, and I think that gave a lot of people a lot of calm and a bit more certainty around how they were going to go forwards. So people were able to move very quickly out of that kind of panic phase into more of a planning kind of phase. And my feeling is, you're right, Mark, definitely, there's definitely been a mood change this week. I am detecting amongst other business owners certainly a mood change since last weekend. And you know, we're in a very fast moving situation at the moment. It's very fluid, it's very dynamic, and you know, that certainty is going to start to come back as things start to kind of freeze again. But we're definitely going to move from that kind of initial lockdown phase into this period of adaptation, and then as we kind of, and that's probably going to run through May, and then the next phase after that, as we kind of get through the peak and kind of go down the other side of that, then at some point the government will at some point give some announcement around beginning to relax some of the measures that are in place, and that will then enable us to start to prepare for whatever the new normal looks like. And again, roughly speaking, that's probably 30-day period, and it's probably June, roughly. So that kind of gives us the 90-day time frame that we're looking at.
Mark, a quick point on the chat. Matt has said, and Libby has mentioned, will you send a copy of the slides? Absolutely, Libby, after this. Matt, a really good point. Matt's in the event industry and saying how can we plan anything within the event industry if the clients don't know anything either? Matt, it's a really good point. This will kind of evolve as we go through the presentation to kind of connect with you there. The other company that I run is an events-based company. We're based our income entirely on people coming together for training events, informative events, all over the world, in Europe and also in the Far East, and everything just stopped. So like our income disappeared, but what the heck happened here? Nobody's meeting. So what can you plan? You're absolutely right. And the answer is, we started with an emergency plan to start with, which was consolidated last week. That involved the finance, the staff, the kind of product sets and the marketing. And then we started to plan communications. You're absolutely right. We can't plan the client solutions, but we can plan in these short steps that Mark's going through. So if you bear with us, it's a great question and absolutely the right question. So as we work through these phases, hopefully you'll get some ideas on what can be planned. And you're right on what we have to wait for certain things to happen later on, but we can start planning now.
Yeah, exactly, Matt. I think you're exactly right. And you know, what I would say, Matt, is try and have some scenarios. They may not be right. None of them may be right. You know, these scenarios are not right. They're our best estimate of how we think things are going to shake out right now. But what you might want to do is have 2 or 3 scenarios in terms of how things may work. And you could start with this as a timeline. And then we could kind of build up from that. You know, the lockdown period may be longer. It probably won't be shorter. Adaptation may be longer or shorter. The preparation may be longer or shorter. We don't know when those dates are going to happen. So you can flex them yourselves. But the important thing is to have 2 or 3 scenarios around what may or may not happen. But by doing that planning, it gives you some level of control that you probably don't have right now.
Right, let's move on through.
All right, good. So our next step then, after, let's have a look, what's going on here? Sorry, just give me a second.
Technical glitch. I love technical glitches.
That's technical glitch.
That's what it's all about.
There we go. Thank you, Mark. Good to have a technical. It's all this Bluetooth stuff flying
technical
around.
Glitches are, yeah, they're absolutely compulsory. It's really important.
As lockdown ends, look, we're going to start to mobilise, and we're going to start to return to some kind of new normal. As I said, we don't know what the new normal is going to be, but there will be some kind of mobilisation. Probably, yeah. So some kind of new normal, and then some kind of business as usual. So we're not going to go into phases 4 and 5 in detail today. We're specifically going to look at phases 1, 2, and 3 because we think that roughly covers the next 90 days. But we'll definitely pick those up in later webinars as we kind of start to get towards that. Okay.
Great.
All right, Mark, over to you.
So I'm just going to set the scene a little bit with this, which is no surprise to anybody. You've probably heard of the grief loop. It's been around a long, long time. This is what happens to our emotions, the emotions of the customers and the emotions of our suppliers, everybody we're connected with, our staff, at times like this. It's been really tough. Let's not underestimate how hard it has been emotionally. We're all very brave. We're business owners. We're going to be fine. We're going to work it through. The financial impact, I've had to raise more money, for example, significantly more money. I had to do emergency plans like you are all doing too. We are all doing too. And there's a toll then of people that I love and I care about are potentially under threat. I may be under threat. And there's an enormous amount. So if you have a quick look at that curve, we're not going to go into detail on it. But if you've been low and confused, and if you've been thinking, what is it that I'm supposed to do to get out of this, then welcome to the club. It's been a really, really tough ride. The overwhelming message, though, is that if you hit the point of decision at the bottom, then everything will build up from there. And as we go through this slide deck and this webinar with you, it'll be constantly focused on what decision are you going to make on this? Because as soon as we made a decision on the elements that we're going to go through, we've got a way forward. And I'd encourage you one thing, if you don't mind me saying, don't make the right decision. We don't know what the right decision is. Make a decision, start working, and then if it needs changing, change it. Yeah. Rather than thinking, I've got to analyze everything and get it right for my business. We haven't. We've got to start moving. There's some principles behind decisions. For example, one principle we'll come across a lot is communicate. Communicate, 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 communicate to staff, to clients, to customers, to suppliers in terms of various communication media. Any communication decision is a good one. So there are also financial decisions Mark will go through. There are also process decisions to go through. So don't get it right, make a decision, start acting on it, monitor it, adjust it, move on. And now we're at the bottom of the curve. I think we're coming up, and then we'll start to move up to the right-hand side of that curve, Mark. That's why we wanted to show this.
Yeah, great catch, Mark. And just to reinforce that, look, the most important thing to do right now is to make a decision, do something. You know, better to do something than to do nothing, as it says on the thing behind me. Right? If you take no decision and you kind of wait for what you think is going to be the perfect answer, then you'll miss the opportunity. Things are moving so fast right now. Just make.
Could I add one more very quick thought on this, and we'll get into the nitty gritty of this. If we don't decide to start to act, then our competitors are doing already. And there's several markets. The events one, Matt, that you mentioned is classic. There's a gap. The clients still want something, but they can't have the events that they wanted. And whatever that gap is, other people will jump into it if we don't. So that's why decisions and action are quite imperative at the moment, because there's this, what do we do? Well, the brightest companies will start doing stuff. So this is part of what this whole webinar is about. What can we start doing? Away we go.
Good, right, over to you, Mark.
Okay, so this is going to take a real short time. Promise not to bore you too much. We've got a lot of tables that we've put together for you in a workbook that's going to be sent. But I'm just going to focus only for a very, very brief time on personal care and people care within the lockdown period. There are those elements highlighted in red on the slide that Mark has just shown you. So if you flip the slide now, Mark, and what we're recommending is this quick bit of analysis. Be really selfish, and again, I'll do this quickly. We'll get into the more detail of the business in a second. But be selfish and think of yourself. If you're firing on all cylinders, if you feel good about yourself, if you feel optimistic, if you look at life and think, actually, I'm in a pretty okay position, I can make something of this, then your efficiency will be significantly improved. So what we have to do is work at that. We're under stress. We have to work at that. I don't feel naturally this is a great situation, but I have to look upon it as an opportunity to turn it into something great. The questions down the left, I'm not going to go through them, but you can see whether you do it mentally or write the answers down. Firstly, figure, and actually right at the bottom, you know, something that's so good at this time, so appropriate. Network built. Somebody said to me yesterday, I've been contacting people I haven't contacted for years, thinking, wow, what a good strategy. Go through old friends and start contacting them. It's surprising. People are grateful for contact. Then from that gratitude comes referrals. So start using the time for yourself to network as well as your own personal health and welfare. Those of you who do have staff, have a quick look at the questions on the right. It's questions and conversations with yourself and with them about how to answer those points, so that we're focusing on enabling the people that work for us or with us whilst they're remotely out there to still be engaged with us. Again, I'm not going to go through all of these tables because they're in the workbook, but it's getting the thinking process going. I think there's another slide, Mark, is there?
Actually, yeah, just a final comment, Mark, on that one, on the staff one. For people that haven't got staff, then ask those questions of yourself, because you are.
Oh, good point.
You do lots of roles in your business, right? So if you don't have staff, then use them for self-reflection.
And I'll pick one out, Mark, from that. The bottom one again of your staff. If it is for yourself, how can I use the time to develop their skills? How can I go learn Facebook better? How can I go learn LinkedIn and Twitter better? How can I get really smart at Facebook advertising? Do some online courses. Mark will talk to you about that a bit later on. We'll offering some free webinars a bit later on, online training for those kind of packages. So you can use the time and say, actually, I'm going to get good at this. I'm not that good at it. I'm going to get good at it. So use the time for that. I won't go through this again in detail. I'm speaking quickly, so I'm not wasting your time. But it is worth analyzing on your customer base, which ones are actually really, really good for me now, and which ones do I think they've been a pain in the neck. They've been really difficult to deal with. They've been dragging me down a little bit. I need to think of strategies to really beef up those that are dead easy to work with. I need to feed them a lot of attention at a time like this, because they're the ones that make my life really sweet and really, really good. The bottom point, how can I incentivize them to come back to me once all this is over? How can I stay in touch with them? Can I give them offers to incentivize them to come back to me, or can I begin to formulate it? And you might ask, well, why have we done a suppliers analysis here? And the answer is, the really good companies work with really, really, really good suppliers. The days of hammering suppliers are over. We need favors from suppliers. So if the relationship is good, you will give and receive favors from the supplier base. Again, a very, very quick analysis on which suppliers are really helping me now, and which ones strategically over the next 12 months am I going to increase work with, or am I going to decrease work with? So I'll keep that real short, but analysis at this stage of those 4 groups is worth thinking about. Not a lot of time on it, but just go through those questions, write down the thoughts, think of a strategy resulting from that. Mark?
Yeah, 2 extra thoughts on that, Mark. You know, some businesses are doing incredibly well right now.
Yeah, that's true.
One of our clients, who 3 weeks ago was up 50% on the previous week, the week after that he was up 65% on the 50% week, and this week he's 70% up on his 65% up week. So he's getting exponential growth. He happens to be in a very fortuitous place with what he does. But some businesses, we have another one that has taken their business entirely from an in-person events-based business to totally online. They've moved 140 clients online in a week, and they've kept all of their clients and all of their revenue. So wow. Some businesses have pivoted incredibly well, and you know, just because we're in a difficult time right now doesn't mean that we can't sell.
Mark, a chat from Matt. Nice job, Matt. Well done. Matt's had an increase of 17% in work due to doing security.
Brilliant.
And nice job. Well done. And the obvious thing, Matt, is go for it. Start using that increase and thinking, oh, wow, this is what people want. So I need to focus my marketing much more precisely because I found a little increase in this bit. Let's make it a bigger increase. Nice example there. Very good.
And on the suppliers, you know, we should always be looking for a win-win. Always look for a win-win. So work with the people that want to work with you. Work with the people that are supporting you right now. Yeah, because they're the people that value your business. So
here's a very, very quick tip to add to that, Mark. I've just thought of this. This is a kind of one of those blinding flashes of the obvious, as we say. One, if you've got some really good suppliers, they may be supplying people whose businesses are growing. Mm. And it may well be that networking with them could get you in on, can you introduce me to? Can you connect me with? Because you know people whose businesses are growing, and maybe I can adjust what I am doing with their help or in association with them. So again, network. This is really important.
All right. So moving on through this list. So you can see how this session's going to work now. We're going to populate all of these spaces with some things that you need to go and do. So the next one is you need, above everything else and after taking care of yourself, you need to take care of your business cash. Okay, if you haven't got a cash flow forecast right now, you need to go and get one. All right, and I'll talk about that in a moment. So first thing you need to go and do, and I'm sure most of you have done this already, is really understand all of your expenses in your business right now. Go and list them, figure out whether you can reduce them, and figure out whether or not you can delay the payment. The number one game in town with these phases is to be there when the day one of phase 4 starts. Okay, that's the game that we're all playing. We need to get through these next 3 months, or however long it's going to be, and make sure that our business survives and is ready to thrive when the new normal comes back, whenever that's going to be. Okay, so part of being able to do that is to understand your costs. So let's go through, understand all of your costs, figure out which ones that you can reduce, figure out which ones you can delay payment on, and talk to these people. People are ready and open and receptive for these conversations. So don't feel that you can't have these conversations with your suppliers right now. People are open and ready to, and they are having these conversations with lots of other people, as you probably are with your clients too. So go out and talk to your suppliers and talk to them about how you can delay your payments or reduce your expenses or come to new arrangements. Okay, so again, this table will be in the workbook. So that's the first task. The next one is, as I said, manage your cash. So this is a greatly simplified table for a cash flow forecast. So what I would say to you is, if you haven't got a cash flow forecast, you need to go and get one right away. This is the most critical thing that you can do. And when you've got a cash flow forecast, you probably need to develop 2 or even 3 scenarios. Yeah. So go and have a think about what your worst case scenario might look like. Think about what the best case scenario might look like, and then think about what the likely scenario is. Okay. In all of them, you can then think about how you're going to bridge any funding gaps that you may or may not have. And we're going to come to some of that in a second.
If I could add that, I have a colleague in the other business, the other events business, and we took put an emergency plan together. And I said, I want to be able to survive for 6 months with no income. And the response was, but this is only going to last 2 or 3 months. I had, well, I don't care. I want to be able to last 6. That's the worst case. If I last 6 months with no income, and we know we can, everything relaxes. Now, we're really fortunate. The sadness of the virus and folk that are affected aside, we're very fortunate from the point of view that money is cheap to get hold of. If we need to, as a contingency, we are able to raise credit a lot easier than we used to be able to at a cheaper rate. Now, Matt has mentioned something on this, Mark, so I wanted to come to it. I said I'd respond. He said he's talking to a lot of people, but due to what's going on, they're hesitant to spend money. Now, that will affect cash flow. I want to address that in a second. But he also says that he's reduced rates to a lot of new and existing clients to show empathy and help. And that has helped the reputation. And Matt, my thought on cash flow with people reluctant to spend money is this. If you can cement a relationship through effort and favor and have a credit scheme with them at this stage that helps them through, which I think you are doing, as long as you know they're going to be financially robust and they can pay you back, it's a risk worth considering. And it's worth considering for certain key people that you think will be really good to invest in at the moment as clients, to think, okay, we'll do it. And would you be okay to pay us as the results come through on our effort in 2 or 3 months' time? Would you be willing to do that? Because we will fund that time to get you to that stage. Now, you've got to be cautious about who you may trust to do that, but you will know that those that are reliable enough. Several of our clients in the other company most of them are international corporates. When they say we'll spend the money, they'll and we do the work, they honor it. They have to honor it. So with your cash flow, try and have conversations that would enable others, if you can't get the cash, to at least take a credit arrangement if it is safe for you to do so. Some people, surprisingly at this stage, if they're bigger companies, are very happy to pay up front for stuff now, certainly for events that are going to happen later, because they have an ethic of wanting to support smaller businesses. It's worth asking them, could you support me at this time? because actually that favor together endears you to each other. And if you have those honest conversations, we're not in trouble, but we would love to have your cash now because it will help us through the next 2 months. Surprising number of people say, yeah, no problem. We've had some yeses to that in the other business.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, as we have in the Action Coach business as well. You know, we've got people paying now. I've just had somebody pay up front for 6 months of coaching.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have the coach. They have the money available now, and they are in a position where they are able to help us. So,
I'm reading what Libby says. Libby is saying forecasts. She's helping her clients to do forecasts. Other businesses, trying to paraphrase it, Libby, should just read it out, shouldn't I? It'll be a lot easier. so
helping other businesses that think about having a mindset change. So you're right, absolutely, Libby. I don't know what business you're in, Libby, but so many business owners that we talk to over the last 12 months or so that didn't have a cash flow forecast have now suddenly had to get one. So look, if there's anybody on this call, this table here on the slide is a very greatly simplified cash flow forecast. I don't know what you're using to run your books with, guys. You know, you might be using QuickBooks. If you're using QuickBooks, then there's a float integration you can get, which is a brilliant tool for doing a cash flow forecast. If you're using Xero, then there's the budget tool in there. I saw another one yesterday, Budgeto, or however you pronounce it. So again, more tools out there that you can go and use. If you don't have any of those tools and you need something to help you create a cash flow forecast, then just get in contact and I'll send one to you. I've got an Excel spreadsheet that I can send to you. It's a very simple one, and it's something that you can use to start to build a cash flow forecast now. But guys, you know, above looking after yourselves and your families, the first thing you should do as a business owner is be on top of your cash.
And Mark, Libby's just said Libby is an accountant, and she's saying that fluidly integrates with QuickBooks and Xero. Oh, right, that's right. I'm aware of Xero, and the other one's Free Agent, isn't it? The similar kind of thing.
Great comment there from Mark Holland as well. Mark is the king of understanding how the benefit of creating a cash flow calmness, creating a cash flow forecast can create calmness and give you certainty and understanding of how you go forwards. And he's just adding now that he's built some scenarios. Thank you, Mark. He's built some scenarios now for all of his franchisees. So Mark owns a national fitness studio franchise. He's got a whole bunch of franchisees up and down the country. And what he's got them all to do now is a bunch of scenarios looking at different levels of income. Their income over different time periods. So great work, Mark.
It's so powerful, Mark, and it's so powerful to build a worst case. And it kind of just suddenly you realize you can survive that. Oh my goodness. And then your energy goes into positive stuff. That's such a powerful thing to do. Very.
So we spent quite a bit of time on cash flow forecast, but it is the priority. Oh, there is a movie about cash flow forecasting over on the YouTube channel that Mark and I recorded last week as well, by the way, and it had a lot of traffic. So again, go and look on the YouTube channel. It's also on the Facebook group. If you want a few minutes about cash flow forecasting in more detail, then go and have a look there. Okay, all right. So get yourself a cash flow forecast. The next thing is, and this may be a difficult one for some people to get their heads around, but look, be honest with yourselves and realize that you may have to consider mothballing your business, and that's okay. It's absolutely fine as well. Before you do that, okay, just consider really carefully about whether there is market demand for your product or service right now. It may not be in the shape or the form that you currently provide it, okay? But is there demand, and do you have a channel to market, or can you go and find a channel to market? The way to determine that is be really clear about what the core competency is that you have, okay? And be clear about what it is that you do differently, okay? So an example with Mark, for example, Mark has a very unique fitness proposition. It's not about lifting weights and stuff like that, but guess what? He's pivoted his whole business and he's flipped it online, and he's now offering training at home for all of his clients. What a great way over the next few months to retain the interaction with his clients. He's had to kind of do that, you know, at the drop of a hat, and go from an in-person experience to an online experience. Brilliant, Mark. Take my hat off to you. Somebody else, one of our other clients, Nikki, has done exactly the same thing with her Pilates business. Yeah, she used to have studios all over sort of the Buckinghamshire area and offer classes all over the place, that she's now flipped the whole thing and is doing it online. So, but her core competency is delivering that capability. Okay, so be really, really clear about what it is that you do differently, and then think about how you can adapt that USP and apply it in a new environment. Okay, and I've given the examples from in-person to online.
Could I add a word there, Mark? We're all forced into online now. This is the way that it is. And you think, well, what can I do? My business just doesn't work for online. What works then is, if you think just around the edge of your business is stuff on knowledge, that does work. So for example, let's imagine you're a builder and you can't get out and you can't do a house extension. But what you can do, if you've got your database of customers, is say to them, I've been looking at designs, I've been looking at materials, I've been looking at this, I want to set up a LinkedIn group to discuss this, I want to show you what's happening in other parts of house design, I want to engage with you in conversations that aren't selling, but they're talking about the kind of industry I'm in. People want communication now, they're at home. So you can take a marketing initiative which may not be on your product, it may be around your product, to get that engagement with customers. Does that make sense, Mark?
Absolutely, yeah, you're absolutely right, Mark. And some businesses that who they kind of realise that there is no income to be had right now are treating the next 3 months as a marketing exercise, and that's okay as well, because it's all about building the relationships. People remember the people that are abundant during this difficult time. Yeah. So some of this is just about treating this as a winner. But many businesses are doing incredibly well and are thriving at this moment in time. But that won't be the case for everybody. But be pragmatic about that. As business owners, we're all emotionally connected to our businesses. But ultimately, they are there to serve us, to provide us with an income. If they don't work for us, then let's go and find another way of earning a living right now, because there are other ways. And let's just be pragmatic about that. And just because your business isn't working right now doesn't mean that it won't work in 3 months' time. It probably will. Okay, so then it's a mindset of, okay, again, how do I get through the next 2 or 3 months to make sure that when we start to recover, that I can get my business in a place where I can take it off the shelf, dust it off, and kind of get it back up and running again as fast as I possibly can. All right.
Good.
Mark, over to you.
I've got another idea on that one. I'm going to come back to it later, though. So carry on. What are we into at the moment, then, Mark?
Government assistance, Mark.
All right. The government has everybody just type in if you've a yes or a no if you've had some government assistance. Just bang it into the chat. Have you had some from the government? Oh my gosh, we've got no from Mark, no from Natalie. There must be some yeses out there. We've another no from Oswin, no from Libby, no from Satish. Oh my goodness, some owner directors said to me about furloughing themselves. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but some, I think this is ignoring the potential to invest time. Furloughed 2 employees, Kerry. Yeah, we've done the same thing in my other business. Absolutely nothing from the government. We've got awaiting a grant from somebody, not yet, waiting for the council to give us the small business grant. I think you know a bit more than I do about that one, Mark. Our message on this slide is this, and I hate this kind of stuff, but it's getting your head down and finding out what kind of eligibility we have and plowing through documents. Matt says still making some profits, the staff are still getting paid. No grant yet from Isabel. Okay. Mark, it might be worth us having some kind of forum as we get through this and out of this in helping each other understand what help is available and what can be done. And there's a handout that you got from your accountants, which is really, really detailed, isn't it, about what?
Yeah. I've got a very good summary. I've kind of got my head around most of this stuff now, but I have got a very, very good summary from my accountants my accountants are CED up in Toaster. And they have given me permission to distribute that handout out to you. It gives a very, very good summary. It lists all of these things and gives a very good summary about how you can, what they mean and how you qualify for them. Okay.
Yeah, Kerry has said a business associate of his had a no on his CBIL request. I'm really sorry. You need to educate me on CBIL. I don't know if you know Ark or Kerry. You can.
Is that the interim financing, the business?
It's a business loan.
Yeah, it's the loan. Yeah, actually hearing quite a lot of that, Kerry, at the moment. It doesn't seem to be quite as. I don't really want to comment too much, but I'm hearing quite a lot of people getting quite a lot of no's right now. So it doesn't appear to be quite as straightforward as it was first presented.
Okay. I want to go to the topic of furloughing yourself as a director, because I've had some conversations with my accountant about that. I'm just scanning the comment from Libby here and another one from Kerry. The bank were using standard criteria, no special rules from the bank. Ouch. Shop around.
I'm hearing the same thing. I heard there was a feature on Sky News last night.
That's gross from a bank. I must admit, what I have done is just gone through personal loans. I mean, it was so easy to raise money and then put that in as a loan as a director back into a business. Rather than getting...
The important thing though, Mark, it's not necessarily just about getting extra cash, but also kind of deferring expense as well. Some of the measures are about deferring expense.
Yeah. But you're right, Kerry, it was actually a loan anyway. We do have to pay it back. Furloughing directors, there's mixed views on this. I've edged away from it, but I'm not sure what the right answer is. But technically, if you furlough a role, that role shouldn't be engaged in the business anymore, apart from information, as I understand it. There are allegedly some directors furloughing themselves and taking the proportion of their wage and then continuing in their duties. I'm sure a lot of people are doing that, and I am personally staying away from it, only that I am not reassured that there won't be some kind of question happening later saying, your business was existing, I can see evidence of this marketing material, so why were you furloughing yourself? So if you're going for furloughing staff, be really clear on the rules. And the rules are that staff should now not be working with the business, but you can exchange communications with them, obviously. They can do training, but not training for the job to improve the business. Is that right, Mark? As far as the rules go?
Yeah, they can do training, but they can't commercially be working on the business. So yes, they can train, but they can't be actively involved in the business.
Yeah, Libby's added something really, really useful here. So separation between director's duties and employment duties. But they can't do marketing, for example. Yeah. And you're right, Libby, director's duties oversight of the business in that broad kind of sense, the things we're legally responsible for, ethics, etc. We could still do that. But if we engaged in anything meaningful day to day, such as raising a loan or actually engaging in tasks, we're in danger of actually working in the business.
Well, when I heard yesterday, Mark, I was talking to a business owner yesterday where he and his wife were co-directors of the business.
Yeah.
And they've been advised, they were just kind of making a final decision on it. They've been advised by their accountant that one of them could be furloughed.
I would absolutely echo what you're going to say, Mark, is get advice on this. Don't jump into it. Don't jump out of it. But I don't know the answer. I think the answers are unknown in some of these things. We've got a question here from Isabel, which you may be able to help with, Mark. Could I train my employees into some online courses, such as safeguarding? Can they still belong to the job retention scheme? I don't fully know. I have to say, with the staff that I have furloughed, they are still undergoing self-learning for their own personal development. You could argue my business is going to gain from that. Of course it will, because they're better people. But it is not me issuing an email with, here is a specific training scheme that I need you to undertake to fulfill your role. It's done informally through conversation, and they're doing self-study. So I think I would be clear with your accountant possibly about what the rules might be about the furloughing. But personally, I think that you're unlikely to be under threat. I think I'm unlikely to be under threat if my staff are doing some learning.
Yeah, I agree, Mark. That's my understanding as well, and that's the conversations I've been having with other coaches around the Action Coach Network. It's okay if people have been furloughed. It's okay for them to have a training and education, but they can't be actively working on the business.
Okay, so let's move on. We'll find out what we can and keep the chat going on this, because there's a lot of grey areas with the legislation being so recent and so emergency based. So thank you for that.
All right, Mark, we're going to go into processes. I think you are going to go through this one. Are you actually going?
Yeah, I'm typing a quick reply to Mark Holland, who said, can you point us to where the info about training is held? This is a training under furlough, I guess.
Yeah, it was based on an internal conversation, Mark, that I had amongst, there's a group that's got all of the UK Action Coach senior partners on, and I got the advice from there.
We will we'll investigate, Mark, and get to us on that one. I'll just write that down. On we go. Processes under lockdown. Again, this is me talking, but not for long. It's pretty well self-explanatory, but it is well worth looking at this stage of lockdown if you have more time. I've actually been working harder than ever before, but it's basically producing online stuff, marketing stuff, and delivery stuff. So some of you may be like that. You're just actually more busy. But if you're thinking, what should I do? Or if you've got staff working at home who are not furloughed and they're asking what to do, it's well worth looking at systems and processes and just doing a very quick check. Is it fit for purpose? Now, the word that I've inserted in this table is so critical here. Are my current processes fit for future purpose rather than just fit for current purpose? And I've got a number of ways that we do things there down the left-hand side. I hope that makes sense. There's nothing else to say at this stage apart from look at the processes and think, are they ready? Are they really fit for me in a year's time when my business is just starting going all guns? If not, maybe I can start thinking about designing processes now that I can start to implement maybe December, January, February, thinking ahead of the processes that may be put in. And this time to think, as business owners, we react. We're usually pretty good at reacting. Really good business owners just think, and we're actually in an enforced thinking time at the moment, which is a good thing. That's all I need to say on that one, Mark, if you want to.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, sorry. Can I just go back to the comments, Mark? That's really helpful on the process. Libby made a comment about the training, referenced the previous slides. She said she thought it was based on an HMRC note and she was going off to check. So while she was chatting, I was scrolling back through on my phone. And yes, it is. I've got the web link to the gov.uk website, and it says if your employee volunteers for work or training, a furloughed employee can take part in volunteer work or training as long as it does not provide services or to generate revenue for or on behalf of your organisation. So I think that clarifies it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, there is clear advice on the gov.uk website. Okay, moving on to processes.
Could you move back one slide, Mark? Just one thing occurred to me as you were talking, as it usually does, and you stimulate an idea because you're wearing a red jumper. And that makes my brain go. So basically, the one I want to pick out here is customer care process. I would say that probably looking at it and refining it at the moment so that when we start trading again, you're giving an absolute delight experience is well worth the time now. It's well worth it because once that customer care process, the extra added value, the delight factors, the surveys, the engagement after sale, the after sale support is really thought through. As we start to come through, it'll be an absolute winner for referrals and more business. And most of us can improve that. Hands up for me, I could improve that. Yeah.
Good.
Thank you, Mark.
All right. I think you still had this one, Mark.
Again, it's a bit wordy. Have a quick scan, everybody, at this one. Having reviewed the processes, the second column there says, do I have documentation so that the process can be carried out by somebody other than the person whose head it is in? Now, this is the key that I wanted to get across. I said to Mark, I absolutely so want to get this across. The key to any successful business is that you don't have to be there, right? And the only way that you don't have to be there is you can trust others to do it. Yep. And the only way we can trust others to do it is if it's written down and they've got a checklist and they're going through stuff the way you want them to go through it. So at this stage, it's a brilliant time to start thinking about which processes must I document clearly because these are my standards and this is the way that I want it done. And again, if you've got staff working at home, they can maybe use some of their time to work on processes. I said to you, Mark, I think it was last week, 3 things to focus on during this time: marketing, training, and processes. If you get those, we're building a bedrock. It's almost like a little sabbatical of period to build some really good, solid stuff before we start trading back in again. The second column, as you can see, if I haven't got documentation, then it's in my head, right? So if you haven't got documentation, you get hit by a bus, it's not going to happen. So this is the dilemma, or the person who's responsible gets hit by a bus, it is going to happen. This is one of the things I had to educate my other business for so long. We need to duplicate what you can do in somebody else. It's not a job threat to you, it's a safety factor for the business. So let's get it documented. If it isn't, note yourself a target date. I'm going to write it. And it's better to write a very short overall process, even if it's not detailed, than it is to do nothing. So if you can't document the whole process, fine. Document the high level, document a bit of it, because it's better than nothing. If you go to the final column on the right, if you do have documentation, it's worth reviewing it and saying, right, I'm going to make it absolutely refined, very, very targeted, very focused. So how am I going to do that? So use this time to look at processes is part of this particular stage. You're looking at chat, Mark. I can see your eyes moving.
Yeah, I'm looking at chat. Before we go to chat, I'll come to Libby's comment in a second. Whilst we're talking about processes, Mark, it reminds me of Michael. You know, Michael has built a fantastic, I don't know if Michael's on the call today or not. Michael has built a fantastic business over the last 12 months, and he's one of our coaching clients. And he started on his own. As we were a few months into the journey, I said, Michael, you need to start documenting your processes. And he said, well, what do I need to do that for? I haven't got any people. Well, you're going to get some people. If you grow at the rate that you continue to grow at, then you're going to need some people. And if you document your processes now, it's going to make it a lot easier to onboard them. And what will happen if something goes wrong, if something happens to them, if they leave? Hey, guess what? We've just had the crisis. He's got his whole business completely documented. And now he's in a much better place for business continuity, apart from anything else, for his people to be able to work from home. So he now has a continuity plan based on the processes that he created and documented over the last 6 months or so. So
right.
I'd massively encourage you all to, if you haven't got your business documented now and it's currently in the heads of your people, then you know that's how your business runs. So you need to get that down on paper and get it documented now. Okay. All right. Moving on. So guys, look, quite a lot of ground covered there just for this kind of initial period of lockdown. So what I would encourage you to do, if you haven't done it already, and I'm sure hopefully you're all kind of feverishly writing notes, all of this will be in the workbook that we're going to send out afterwards, by the way. But what I would encourage you to do is to just get really, really clear based on what we've discussed so far in terms of what are the top 3 things, what are the top actions that you need to go and take. Yeah, what are your 3 most important priorities? What do you need to put in place to make those priorities happen, and when are you going to do them? Yeah, look, nothing's going to happen if you don't take action. The most important thing you can do is to take action. We've seen so many businesses that are kind of wannabe businesses, you know, people that kind of have got great ideas and want to go to places, but they never actually take steps to make stuff happen. You know, that's why it's called Action Coach. So take some action, be decisive, get some stuff done. Now, there's some really good stuff in here that you need to actually make happen. So let's go and get that into action. Okay, let's make that happen. All right. So let's move on into.
Before you move on, Mark.
Yeah.
A thank you to Libby. If you can have a quick look, Libby, I appreciate that. She sent a web link, a URL for the government guidance on training. If you guys could grab it. And copy and paste it from the chat, or we can get it to you. And Isabel, yep, we will get through this. Thank you, Isabel. Absolutely right.
All right. So that's the lockdown phase. Let's get into adaptation, right? We'll kind of start to rattle through this now. So this is kind of the next 30 days, probably May. So again, along this theme of stuff that needs to happen on a personal level, and first of all, look, as we start to kind of go forwards, we need to start anticipate what a new normal is going to look like. That may mean that you're going to have to get some new skills, right? I know that I've certainly accumulated a whole ton of new skills in the last last couple of weeks. I've learned how to make movies. I've learned how to do webinar. You know, 2 new skills that I didn't have before. So you may want to go out and get a whole load of new skills as well. So one of the ways that you can not only for yourself, but for your staff and for your customers and your suppliers as well. They may be funny things to put on a skills matrix, right? But they're important, and Mark's going to cover those from a customer's and a supplier's point of view. But look, from a personal point of view, are you fit for purpose right now? Ask yourself, is my behavior appropriate for where we are right now? You know, are you giving yourself a very tough ride given the crisis that we're in right now, or actually are you giving yourself a bit of an easy ride? You know, are you at home with your feet up with Netflix running? That could also be the case, right? You know, we've still got businesses to run, so let's make sure that we're kind of on it. So is your behavior what it should be? Is your attitude where it needs to be right now? Are you equipping yourself with the right skills to go forwards, and are you taking the decisive action that you need to take? And then you can replicate that then for all of your people, and you could do this individually. So on this matrix, when you come to get the workbook, you could have a line for each member of staff. Yeah. So ask yourself the 4 questions: behavior, attitude, skills, and action about each member of your staff. Yeah. Are they all showing the right behaviors right now, or have they just kind of checked out? It's often said that in times of crisis, you kind of get to see the real person. Well, you know, what colors are your people showing you right now?
And I think most are showing a real fantastic attitude. I think I've never seen so much mutual support going on. I've seen there are 1 or 2 making life difficult for all of us, and their houses are full of toilet rolls. However, the rest of us are generally is really, 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 really encouraging and positive. So engage staff in saying, look, what skills can we develop at this time? Bearing in mind the guidance that was through from Libby on what we can do if your staff are furloughed. Netflix, you mentioned, Mark. I've never seen so much Netflix. Certainly in the evenings when I just give a sigh. I've been watching Ozark. Has anyone watched Ozark? It's weird. It's the weirdest series I've seen in my life. It's mega depressing and actually quite enjoyable. Yeah, but I'd recommend it. It's worth a look. So this is completely weird about a money launderer, by the way, Mark. It's something fascinating. It's a fascinating subject. So customer suppliers. Let me get back to this. Hoping for a flood so the toilet rolls expands and their cupboards fall off the walls, from Mark Holland. I think that's absolutely brilliant. I'm hoping that they pack their houses so much that they're in isolation now and can't move.
Better addition from Libby, though. New question: when recruiting a recruiter, did you hoard toilet roll? If yes, avoid employing as they're not a team.
Yeah, avoid employing, you're not a team player. Libby, we could get a whole psychometric test built around attitudes to toilet rolls. I think that's a really good idea. And what people did with other needy items that people needed in supermarkets that other older people and less able people couldn't get hold of. Something we're all very angry about, I think, the selfishness. But yeah, amen from Mark Holland. Very quickly, we've got about 35 minutes left for a time slot here, or 30 minutes for you. We don't want to overrun. Why the last 2 rows? It's worth analyzing, having a look at customers and suppliers in this light. For customers, what is their behavior and attitude towards me? Are they warm, hot? Are they supportive towards me and towards my business? And what skills have they got in the way that they are dealing with me? And once you've analyzed the customer, you say, well, how do I cement? Your action is for me. How do I cement that relationship with them? They're a little bit awkward maybe, or they're very positive maybe. They haven't got very good skills of communication, or they haven't got very good skills of making decisions. So given all of that analysis, what's my action with this really important customer? The supplier one is similar, but slightly different, which is, given the suppliers that I'm looking at now, have they got the right behaviors and attitudes that I want for them to be my suppliers? Have they got the right skills, and can I help them get the skills? For example, simple. They may not have IT skills that are necessary to use you in the way that you'd like to link with them. So can I help you offer with skills, or can I help you with your technology, with your skills, with advice, with communication? They may be grateful for it if that's an action you think can cement the relationship. So the skills audit can be extended beyond yourself and your staff through to anybody we're dealing with, resulting in that final column there, which is what am I going to do to make this really work? What am I going to do? What decisions can I make to make the relationships with those 4 really excellent? So I'll move on from that then, Mark.
Yeah, great comment. Just before we move off customers, great comment again from Libby. Some customers are defeated, so they need to be aware of putting too much effort or help to help them if they don't want it. Yeah, absolutely, Libby. Certainly a week ago, some of the conversations I was having with business owners was somewhere between, at best, I need to mothball my business, and at worst, that's it, I'm doomed, I'm finished. And actually, when you kind of start to probe and have some of the conversations, because those people were just in blind panic, they were kind of very rapidly going down that change curve that Mark showed at the business at the beginning. They just weren't thinking clearly. But when you start to kind of have conversations with people and start to kind of probe and explore opportunities, people were starting to realize that actually we will get through this and there will be a new normal. But some people, as you said, Libby, just may not be ready for that conversation now, and that's okay too.
Libby, I think you've hit on something very, very important, and I've been saying to folk for a while now, the business I've referred to has 3 priorities now. The first priority is relationships. That's it. Just be there and listen. Call people that you know, and the first thing is listen to them. And I've sent so many emails saying, how are you? That's it. How are you? How's your family? You've all been doing that. I know. So that then you find out where people are, and if they are scared in the way that you've indicated, that's all you do. But that's the first thing people need at that stage, and it's very, very important. Bridging relationships, marketing processes is the focus that we've got. But yeah, absolutely.
And products, services, Mark, products and services review.
Yeah, let's do this one really quickly. Showing you this slide here. Here we go. This table, again, you'll get this workbook full of tables, right? Then there's nobody expecting you to fill in all the tables. You'll do what you like with it, but you may take certain tables and you'll say, oh, I'll think about this one, or I'll fill in this one, or I'll send this to my team. This one is designed to identify what is really making me the money here. What is it that I'm doing that is actually pulling in the best turnover and the best margin for me? And here is an opportunity. This is what I wanted to come back to. I mentioned it earlier in the webinar. This is a great, great time, if you can organize the time, to ask customers what they think of you. Just to say, look, I'm thinking of when we come out of this, I want to improve my service. Could you let me know what you think of me? What do you think of our organization? How do you think it's gone? What do you think we could improve? And if you can get customer opinion at this stage on your key products and services, then you've got the next 2 columns, haven't you? This is what I'm going to do to respond, and this is what I'm going to do to market it. And it's a terrific opportunity to engage, not through selling, but through asking the clients, the customers, can you help me out? I'd really love your opinions, because this will help me to promote and produce marketing.
I think another question that, a very simple question that people could be asking their customers right now is, how can I help you?
Yeah.
It's just as simple as that. What's difficult right now? How can I help you? What can I do for you?
Sure, absolutely.
That may, we're hearing a lot about pivoting at the moment. And that's one way to pivot. What skills have I got that you would find useful right now is another way of asking the question.
Absolutely.
I'm seeing quite a few people. I've mentioned it a few times. I had another conversation with somebody yesterday who's in the film production business. He makes movies for people. Guess what? He can't go on location anymore, and he can't shoot movies. But all of these. So he said, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to go forwards. Okay, well look, how many brands? So he makes marketing movies. How many brands have you seen being able to adapt their messages? Hang on, I'm about to lose my MacBook, guys. Don't go anywhere.
Well done, Mark.
Alec!
Are you back?
Hang on.
So whilst Mark's adapting his office for fit for purpose.
Oh, we're back in the room. God, that was close.
It got legs? Mark, has it got legs or something? What's happening to it?
Yeah, no power. Just had the battery failure warning.
I see. It was a power thing. Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, it is a MacBook. I tend to have a PC myself. These MacBooks.
Well, that's all right. That's okay, Mark. You can't have it. I won't hold that against you.
Yeah, I know.
So this guy was making movies. I was like, look, have you not seen that Aldi and Tesco and all the supermarkets have suddenly all got new TV ads out there, all which are all about social responsibility? How do you think their agencies produced them? Because they weren't going into work to make them in edit suites. They were all probably done from home. And the guy kind of suddenly went, oh, I hadn't thought about it like that. And just kind of was able to kind of reframe what he did. So, you know, what about if you kind of flip from making movies to editing movies in his case? I know that we've got quite a few clients that are in the photography business as well. So another thing that this guy was looking at is, he said, I'm spending a lot of time at the moment creating a lot of stock footage. He said, I've got reels and reels and reels of content that I'm not doing anything with. They're just sitting on the shelf. But everybody right now, because they can't go out and film content, needs stock footage. So he's turning it all into stock footage that he can sell. A classic example of where he's got some assets that he can now monetize.
Mm-hmm. A quick thought, Mark, if you could flick your Mac with power back to that slide, and then we'll move on through. Yeah, the customer opinion thing, a real short point. Ask customers how they are, as Mark says, how are you? Then it's well worth thinking of getting their opinion through survey, but getting their opinion through using Zoom and focus groups. Get them together, get people together if you can. Say, how do you envisage it? Well, how do you see the market going? How do you've all heard of focus groups that political parties use. The larger companies use focus groups all the time to generate their strategies for marketing and customer requirements. Have a go. If you've got some customers and you feel that they are isolated, they are lonely, there is also a merit in asking them for help, because they feel there is a use for them to get together on Zoom conferences and just run focus groups to get their opinion for the improvement of what we offer. And I'll give you an example. I was talking to somebody in Holland yesterday, and she said, I wonder what's going to happen when we all come back to work. And this is by email. So I said, would you like a chat about that? And we can set up a Zoom and chat about it. And I got the message back, that'd be great. So it's now an excuse for a conversation, which will then turn in, well, this is what we do, and away it goes. You're starting to care for people first, have conversations, then work will flow. So any excuse to get people together to talk will be great.
Good, thank you, Mark. So look, more of adaptation, right? So we're going to have to start adapting our marketing strategies. Most businesses now have already adapted their marketing messages. If you haven't done, then you need to do so, because I'm still seeing stuff. Even now, 10 days in, I'm still seeing stuff. Yesterday, I saw an ad on Sky News inviting people to go to Taiwan for a holiday. How irrelevant is that? You know, there's no planes in the sky, and who wants to go to Taiwan right now? So just totally irrelevant. But I'm sure there are lots of businesses, even on a local level, that have still not adapted their marketing messages even. So just think really carefully about what messages you're putting out. As we start to anticipate what the new normal is going to look like, you're going to have to change your marketing strategy as well. So we've got a few tables to kind of help you. Okay. So let's Kerry says she wants to go to Taiwan. They're in a we are. Thank you, Kerry. Mark says he'll carry her bags. So, right, marketing strategies. There's a few templates here for you just to kind of work through. So we always talk about buyer personas. You know, it used to be called segmentation. So just think about kind of the clusters of people that are most likely to want to buy your products or services going forwards. Okay, you probably want no more than 3 or 4. Most big organizations can't cope with more than 3 or 4 buyer personas. When you've identified what they are, then think about what their needs are. Okay, so what does that specific group need from you? What do they want to have from you? What's going to make them happy? And then how can you have a product or service which is unique and different to anything that anybody else is offering? How can you position yourself to have something different? Okay, so start.
Can I give an example on that one, Mark? Would you mind? Yeah. Somebody we've been working with is running Canal Boat Holidays, and this is a classic. There are 2 buying personas here. There are families and there are middle-aged couples. So the marketing is 2 different strands. Rather than this is what we do, we sell holidays, it's targeting the group. The needs of middle-aged couples, sedentary, calm, quiet, refined gear that's in the boat, and a good secure route. The needs of families, security, safety for children, water safety, life vests, etc., etc. Go through to the delight factors. What would delight a family? And we're talking about things like a little bit of information about spotting the local wildlife, some short little videos on children's safety, And those delight factors become the unique offering to that group. So the marketing then focuses on the USP for that group. So I just thought an example might help there, Mark, just to...
No, thank you. That's helpful, Mark. So I guess the key though with this is to have a USP around each of these personas, right? So what's your unique proposition? What is it that you do that nobody else does for each of those personas, and why should people...
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? Because then if you've got a USP, then people aren't going to compete with you on price. So then as you kind of continue to develop them, you know, where do these people hang out? What are the watering holes? A bit of an unfortunate term right now, but where do you find these people? What groups are they in? What Facebook groups are they in? Where are they likely to be right now? Where are you going to go and find them? And then what's your campaign? What's your key message? What are you going to say to these people based on your USP and where they're hanging out? You know, we often say that content is king when it comes to marketing, and we're always so kind of time poor for creating content. But now more than ever is the time to be creating content. Mark and I sat and made 20 movies the other day, and we're kind of slowly pushing them out one by one, and you can see them over on the Facebook group. But now more than ever is the time to be creating content and writing blogs. Blogs are fantastic on your website for improving your SEO, okay, so where you appear in Google. So anything you can do for blogging is great for getting people to come and find your website organically. Offer content, offer free content, tips, guidance, support, ask questions. Yeah, so offer things that people can download, especially whilst people are going through this educational adaptation phase. And then we've got here, so the digital method, non-digital. So what are your channels of communication? How are you actually going to reach people? Where do they hang out? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Facebook? Are they just, where are they? What groups are they in? And then how are you going to reach people offline as well? You know, how are you going to get to these people when the new normal comes around? So give that some thought for each of your personas.
A quick thought, Mark. I'm sorry, on the offline, at the moment, everybody's going, well, what is there offline? And one thing you can do offline is referral schemes.
Well, you tee them up and I'll knock them off. Look, we've got a slide for
that. Okay, that's great. Yeah, referrals. So the next slide was, sorry, could you go back, Mark, so I can just orientate myself on so we're in the adaptation stage here. We've got about 15 minutes left to run, so we're well within time, so that's good. So moving on from the strategies, we wanted to offer some thought at this stage about what stuff, collateral is a long word, stuff is a nice word, what stuff we can start to make that will be useful for us to send to people or give to people. So I've done a list here. Part of the experience that I've been fortunate to have is helping the larger corporates do really large bids. And these are several millions, one was several billion. And it's getting together the content of that bid. And so there are some things that large corporates do which are very smart, which is no reason why we can't do that in the smaller businesses that we all run. I will pick out just a few of these that are really, really powerful. Down the left-hand side, case studies, customer experiences, customer videos. They are so strong. If on your website you can get a customer saying something about you, or even some text about this is my experience with you, it is so powerful. And now's the time to go to those key customers and say, would you mind if? Could we do it by Zoom and I'll record the Zoom? You can do this kind of thing remotely and build up collateral that will then be used for marketing purposes later on. Think of your product line and think of dividing your web pages so that your webs have got different USPs on web pages for different elements of your business service that you're offering. So rather than a USP just at the front, this is what we do, aren't we great? We have different service lines or product lines that go down in the web pages, but each then targets the persona that is targeting with the appropriate USPs. Downloadable PDFs, Mark has mentioned this, any downloadable stuff, free stuff that you can put up. Here we've written something, we've got a white paper, we've got a customer story, we've got some hints and tips. People will adhere to you because we're getting some stuff. The only other thing I wanted to get really, really clear is this. Upsell and cross-sell. Now, upsell is where a client buys something from you, but that you actually offer much more. You offer a bigger package. How can look at your clients and think, well, who are buying this level and I want them to buy this level? How can I upsell to this client over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months? How can I prepare the ground to get them to buy more? Cross-sell is to buy more stuff. So they're buying this, how can I get them to buy that? And it's well worth at this stage producing collateral which explains these things to the customer. So this is the level you're buying. If you'd like to buy more, this is the benefit that you get, or this is what you're buying. If you buy more stuff from us, this is to make you aware of what else we do. Web videos are final, finish with this. I think every website should probably have the owner of the business in face, giving a video, introducing her or his business. Rather than just the cold web page is, this is me, this is my business, hello, my name is, contact me anytime. Just putting that itself within the website is collateral worth thinking about. I'll shut up now, but we wanted to put together some ideas of stuff that larger companies are doing by habit because they have massive budgets, right? But we can now use the time to make some of this stuff.
Good. Actually, you're still on, Mark, so thank you. So we're going to move now from adaptation to the preparation phase. So this is the preparation phase for returning back to business as normal, right? So probably something that's going to happen probably in about June time, hopefully. But part of that, in addition to kind of at a personal level, getting ourselves really organized around, what's our routine, what's our default diary. Again, Mark Holland, if he's still on the call, Mark's the king of a default diary. He manages his whole life now in 15-minute chunks. He used to work an 18 to 20-hour day every single day. He's got it down to about 8 or 9 now, and he's probably about 3 times more productive than he ever was. I'm sure he'll confirm that in the chat in a second. So if you want to know what a default diary is, get in contact. Of course, you've got to have the right, a new mindset. We're going to emerge from what's been a difficult place into a new place. Mark says he's got to turn me off in a second because I'm not after 3 o'clock.
Got the default diary after 3 o'clock. You're completely screwed here. Yeah.
So we're going to have to adjust to a new mindset, and we're going to have a new personal care regime as well. But as we start to kind of, in addition to taking care of ourselves, we're going to have to start taking care of our people returning back to work as well, either from furloughed or recruiting new people. So Mark, do you want to just kind of talk?
Yeah, we'll do this real fast because we're really happy to talk to you more about this. But when staff return, I was talking to, again, I mentioned to you, the head of the International Baccalaureate, head of the HRD, and she was saying, a human resources director, what she was saying was, what's going to happen when they come back? We're going to have some problems. I don't think we'll all have problems, but I think we will have a very, very different workforce who have been through something of a trauma. And so do be clear, and I'm not going to go through these bullets here, but do be clear that it isn't just return to work and get cracking. If you really have due care for your staff that are coming back, make a point of the coming back moment in terms of quieting it down, settling it down, having a conversation about some of the things that they have gone through, what it is that they expect to go through. Do they need further support because the situation won't be closed? Do they need some help? And be clear on the priorities. I want you to focus on now you're back at work is this, because I want to make it simple for you now. You can see other bullets there. How do we keep the team together? How do we build a training plan? But think about the return rather than assuming back at work, crack on, carry on as normal. As you get people together to talk about it, it'll be a new ball game, a new kind of paradigm of engagement with people arising out of a period of tension. It will be different. Ongoing, much more collaboration. Set the mind of ourselves. If we've got staff, as a result of this experience, we're going to collaborate a heck of a lot more. We're going to involve people in generating ideas, not just telling them what to do. And the regular 360s, 360 is an appraisal system of managers and staff telling each other how they feel. And I think it's really, really healthy as business owners to say to our staff or franchisees or whatever they happen to be is, look, I'm going to regularly ask you how I'm performing here. I'd like your feedback and I'd like a dialogue, and you can then give me some indications of what you expect of me. And have a think, because this is the later on stage, Mark, yeah, when we're coming back to work, have a think about coming back to work with a learning from this period that staff would connect with and they would feel safe with. That needs planning and it needs thinking through.
Yeah, I think Mark, just to kind of change the pace just for a moment, both at a staff level and at a customer level and at a supplier level, some people are going to experience some bereavement and are going to go through some PTSD, quite frankly, and some major trauma. So what we're flagging here is that this isn't just about being sensitive to when staff return, but when our customers return, suppliers return, and when things start to get back to normal. Let's not, as business owners, our inclination or our temptation is going to be, right, come on, let's go, let's crack on. But actually, we're dealing with people here as well. And some of these people will have gone through some massive change.
Yep, absolutely.
So let's just be open and sensitive for that as well. All right. So kind of bringing that preparation phase to just drawing it to a close. Look, we're going to start. You'll then be in a position to start deploying your marketing campaigns as well. And what we don't want to forget is you've got to start reaching out to people. You've got to start booking appointments. You've got to start getting your sales funnel going again as well. So, you need to be keeping in your mind that, as you start to kind of gear up to go back to normal, you need to refill a sales pipeline that potentially has run empty. And that may take time, So just kind of keep that in mind and remember that you need to go out and do that. So when you're looking, remember back in the beginning when we talked about what's your sales process, have you prepared your sales process? Have you even scripted it? Are you really, really clear the journey that you want to take your customers on? How do you reignite generating more leads? How do you take them through the process of closing? Okay.
A quick suggestion at this point, and we're pretty well done, and we're done within time, Mark. So well done. The red jumper did its job, I think.
That's it. Yeah. Go on.
A thought on appointments is this: that I got off the phone to a customer yesterday and said, "I'll see you in September," and then I thought I should have booked it. I should have booked it because actually people's diaries are going to be absolutely rammed. And I would suggest booking appointments to see people is a positive thing. But I think that it's well worth thinking ahead as to getting people's diaries in September, October, November and say, I want to see you in November. Is that okay? I want to see you in October. It can always change, of course, but you're giving an indication that you're booking time face-to-face, shake their hands, have a coffee and go see them. And I actually beginning to think, Mark, we probably ought to start booking appointments a lot earlier, but definitely at the preparation phase because people will be unavailable because everybody will be on their diaries. Right. So get in there quick.
Never too early to get in somebody's diary and get an appointment, right? So let's just kind of think about the last two phases, phase 4, phase 5. We're not going to go through these into detail right now, but one thought about phase 4 is that you've got to start to be visible again. So especially to your customers and to your suppliers and to staff if you have them. So again, you're going to have to start to show a new type of leadership. So think about what energy that you are displaying. Think about what clarity that you've got. How much ownership and commitment are you showing to driving your business forward? And it will not be easy at this time. There's going to be challenges. We're going to be restarting our businesses again from scratch. So you need to show that leadership and be ready for it. Both to your families and also to your businesses as well. So maximum effort, leading from the front, focusing on winning clients, driving forward your marketing, and also testing and measuring and understanding what works.
Give me a thought there, Mark. This is why we've got to be physically and mentally healthy during this period, and because we're going to actually be really going for it once we get back in, trying to get things going again. So be up.
I don't know about everybody on the call, but I've never worked such long hours as I've worked in the last 2 weeks. Isn't that extraordinary? And I know, Mark, that's been the same for you. So, kind of the energy levels have had to be kind of high whilst we kind of get through that kind of initial period. But, there's going to be a bit of a lull, but we've got to kind of renew that and get it back. So, make sure you take care of yourselves and make sure that you're in good shape when that comes. Phase 5 then is all about business as usual and kind of back to consistency, back to having fun again. Look, one of the things that we talked about last week on the 20 steps thing, and one of the movies that's on the YouTube channel, is everything in business happens in cycles. Okay, everything in economic terms is cyclical. And whilst it's hard to imagine right now, and things are going to get harder before they get better, things will get better. We will get through this, and things will improve, and there will be good times ahead. As I said at the beginning, the name of the game is to make sure that we're ready with our businesses to kind of go again when that happens. But we've just got to kind of keep our minds focused on the fact that things will come back, and normality, some kind of normality, will resume. It may not be what we knew before. It may be something different or slightly different, but there will be a new normal, and things will return. So just kind of keep your mind on that.
Mark, in terms of time, as we close down for time, I've got a suggestion. A little bit tongue-in-cheek, but it follows exactly from what you said. I think we should book a meeting at the pub with everybody who's on the webinar. And I'm suggesting that we'll go for the 22nd of August, okay, at a venue that Mark and I will buy you all a drink. I think we've got 600 people on this webinar, Mark.
Are you paying?
Mark and I will buy you a drink on the 22nd of August. So we'll find a venue for you. We'll get together, and in celebration of having got through this, we'll meet and we'll raise a pint or a glass of wine or a glass of water or whatever is your fancy to each other. So yeah, Kevin, let's do it. We've got to make it. Mel goes, so yeah, let's do it. Absolutely. and I kind of smiled.
Natalie's been on isolation for about 3 weeks now, Natalie.
Okay, fine. So
she's drunk a wine cellar empty, bless her.
22nd of August, we'll send out invites and we'll see who shows, and it will be something I certainly will really look forward to.
Libby says that's great too. All right, look, let's wrap this up. It's been brilliant to have you on the call today. There is some stuff for you to be able to do, okay? You're not alone. The purpose of doing this, why are we doing this? Because we just want to reach out and help business owners get through these next 3-4 months, however long it's going to be. So there's some ways that we can help and support you. So go and get some stuff, please, from the Facebook group. There's lots of movies and stuff there, and there's lots of help and support that you can get from there. If you want some coaching, then if you want to just discuss something in person, either that we've discussed today or you need something else, then go and book on, actually that calendar link's not updated, but it was on the front page, and you'll see it on the front page in a second. The last thing is we are going to do, one of our sister brands is Love for Marketing, and Love for Marketing has a national relationship actually with NatWest. So we deliver about 300 seminars a year with NatWest around digital marketing. So going forwards, what I'm going to do is, as they can't happen in person and NatWest aren't, obviously can't facilitate that right now, I'm going to deliver those courses for free online every Thursday for the next 4 weeks. Okay, so if you want, as we go through this these next 2 phases, if you want to start thinking about what your marketing is going to be, I will deliver those courses. So there's one just around kind of the general context and landscape around social media. That's the first one, next Thursday. I'll then follow it up with the Facebook one, and then the LinkedIn one, and the lead generation one as well. There is a Facebook group that's just been opened. There's no content in it at the moment. There's no members, but there will be in the next few days. So go and have a look in Facebook. Go and look for Love for Marketing Support /, okay? And that's where I'll be posting stuff going forwards there. I'll also be doing some advertising, and I'll contact you all by email to send you out the links so that you can start coming to that training as well. So additional benefits in coming to the course. You'll get the in-person webinar itself. You'll also get one of the free courses from the Marketing Masterclass, and there'll be additional content and support available in the Facebook group as well. So we're treating that as like a help group. Okay, so if you need tips, support, tricks for how to do your digital marketing, go and join that that Facebook group now. As I said, there's no content there right now, but there will be shortly. And we'll build a great community there for people that are trying to get themselves back on their feet with their digital marketing. Sorry, Mark, I talked over you.
Don't apologize. I blame it on a lag in the Zoom software here, Mark. It's not me being rude. Well, actually, it was me being rude. So I interrupted what you were saying. But I just wanted to say to everybody to stress these webinars are free, and Mark is really, really good at this. He's very, very capable of explaining the Facebook, the LinkedIn, the lead generation in ways that you can actually use, as Mark has helped me with those tools as well. So I'd really recommend them, and as they're free, get on them and go do it. That'd be great. 3 p.m. Mark Holland says goodbye, and we ought to say goodbye too. Spot on, Mark.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I hope you got some benefit from that. Tell all your friends. Make sure you go and get into the Facebook group. And we'll see you all again, hopefully next Thursday. Thanks a lot. Bye now.
Thanks. Take care.